Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be discussing about my thoughts of the confrontation fight between Team Rein versus the Hero Party in episode 5 of Beast Tamer. Before I discuss about my thoughts of the confrontation between Team Rein versus the Hero Party, I have to say that this episode, to me personally, is my personal favourite episode in this entire series. Beast Tamer is actually one of the most brilliant anime shows I have watched this fall, and I enjoyed every single of these episodes. But there's one episode that really stands out, is the 5th one, mainly because of the confrontation fight between Team Rein versus the Hero Party. And it's also a justified episode to me personally as well, because what happened to Rein, the main character of this series, he actually got mistreated and been meaned at by the Hero Party, and they actually fired him at the very start of the series. Because of course Rein is a beast tamer, and they see that beast taming is actually a very useless combat ability, of course, because beast taming ability is actually taming an animal, and that way animals can help you to navigate through obstacles or places actually. His abilities are awesome. And it really does tip me off that the fact that the Hero Party, the way they've been so mean and horrible to Rein, because of course of his abilities as a beast tamer. Rein actually talks about his life with the Hero Party to his female companions, Kanade and Tanya, about his life with the Hero Party, and also the way they would mistreat him actually, and the way he got fired. Both girls were very quite disgusted about that story, and they want to teach the Heroes Party a lesson. So in the 5th episode, we see these girls, along with Rein, teaching the Hero Party a lesson, and it was so awesome really, to be quite honest, this episode that really is appealing to me personally, because it's actually a justified episode. Before Rein and the girls went up against the Hero Party, the Hero Party wants to invite Rein back, because they need his help to actually navigate through the Lost Woods to acquire a shield that they need to actually defeat the Demon Lord. And I was thinking, really? You want him back after the way you treated him actually? And I think it's just so nasty of these characters just want to have him back, just because they want his help to navigate through the Lost Woods, what they want to acquire to defeat the Demon Lord. But both Kanade and Tanya wouldn't tolerate this behaviour from the Hero Party, the way they treated Rein. And they actually stood up for him actually, and actually told them to actually bow down and apologise to Rein. And I think these characters, the Hero Party, they're just so horrible really. They're just mean, nasty characters, and the way they treated Rein. And that's something that really actually ticks me off actually when it comes to our main dudes actually. And it's not just Rein from this series, it's Hajime from Arios as well. And anyway, I can't help but just find it how unjustifiable it is that the Hero Party, the way they treated Rein and mock his abilities actually. So in my opinion about the Heroes Party, the way they treated Rein, I must say these characters are nothing more but just a bunch of scum. Because they just actually mistreated and mock and laugh at Rein just because of his beast taming abilities. I think Rein really wants to find companions that he feels more happier with. Being with the Hero Party, in my opinion, is a bad environment for him apparently, the way they treated him. But I see Rein in a much brighter environment now, because he has made friends with these ultimate species girls, and he actually made contract with these girls so that way they can become part of his party. And I have to say that this is a much better environment for Rein to be in, because he's actually been in a very miserable spot actually after being fired by the Hero Party. And this is a much better environment for him to be in with these ultimate species girls actually. And he doesn't see them as more as companions, he sees them more as friends. Best close friends to him actually. But him being with the Heroes Party, that was a bad environment for him to be in my opinion. So yeah, I have to say that the 5th episode to me personally is a very justifiable episode, because we see Rein and the girls teaching the Heroes Party a lesson. So I'm going to get into details about each of the confrontations between Team Rein versus the Hero Party. So I'm going to start off with my personal favourite one out of the three. Now, when I'm going to discuss about these fights, I'm not going to do it in the exact same order as seen in the episode, because I want to start from my personal favourite to the last. Now, my personal favourite fights out of the three is Tanya up against the two girls, Rein and Mana. Now, what I like about this scene with Tanya up against these two girls is the fact that it's so hilariously funny, I must admit. Mainly because, of course, no matter how much those two girls try to cast their own spells against Tanya, Tanya actually clicks her fingers and actually cancel out their spells. It's so hilariously funny to see both Rein and Mana actually trying to cast spell after spell after spell, and then Tanya actually click after click after click by cancelling out their spells, and it's so hilariously funny. These two girls weren't really even trying, actually. So yeah, I have to admit, this scene was really quite hilariously funny to me personally, in my opinion. Mainly because both Rein and Mana actually cast their spells at Tanya, and Tanya, with a click of a finger, she actually cancels them out, and it's so hilariously funny. Every time I re-watch this episode, I can't help but smile and chuckle a bit every time I see these two girls struggle to try and cast the spell right at Tanya, and then Tanya once again cancels their spells, and it's so hilariously funny. What is so hilariously funny that both girls weren't really even trying, and they actually gave up on the spot. And unfortunately they had to give up because apparently Tanya was about to cast the most epic magic with a rainfall of meteoroids. And both Rein and Mana were actually looking very much wimpy at this moment, because seeing Tanya's full power on show was actually quite horrifying and terrifying to them, as they see a rainfall of meteoroids heading towards them. And what is so funny about this moment is that Tanya actually cancels her own ability, and both girls were actually frozen on the spot. And it was so hilarious, really. Tanya actually says to them, "I was just messing with you." And both girls actually just fainted on the ground, actually. And it was so funny. This is actually one of my personal favourite scenes in this entire episode. The second fight I'd like to discuss about in this episode is Kanade versus Angif. Now, this is a really good fight in my opinion, actually, because we see Kanade overpowered Angif, actually, using punches and kicking, actually. And Angif was actually using every single might, strength and ability that he would use against her. But no matter how much he was trying, he has no chance whatsoever to defeat Kanade. And it's so awesome. Kanade is actually the most powerful female character in the show. So yeah, I have to say, it was quite badass of Kanade beating the crap out of Angif, actually. And this was actually another great fight scene, actually. I mean, really, you've got a very strong, overpowered female character who's a cat spirit up against a guy who's not really making much of an impression to Kanade, apparently. So yes, in my opinion, with this fight scene between Kanade versus Angif, I have to say this was a really great, awesome scene. Even though it's not as hilarious compared to Tanya versus Rein and Mana's fight, it is actually a very overpowered scene with Kanade fighting against a guy who has got overpowered strength, but not really making much of an impression, of course, as his abilities is no match to the most powerful strength of a cat spirit girl like Kanade. Finally, we come to the final fight in this episode, and that is Rein versus Arios. Now, in my opinion of this fight, I find it so badass, actually. Especially the fact that Rein was actually using punches and kicking from his contract with Kanade, as well as actually using fire magic from his contract with Tanya. So yeah, it's so awesome seeing Rein up against the most scumbaggest jerk in the Heroes Party, Arios. Now, Arios is actually trash talking at Rein with a false gesture of actually being friends with Rein. Apparently he wants to make Rein part of the Hero Party again, but in my opinion, I think it's just such a false gesture because they needed his help to get through the Lost Woods actually. So what I like about this fight is the very personal side of it, with Rein actually taking down Arios actually, and also teach him a lesson actually, because the way he actually been mean to Rein was outrageously nasty actually. So it was so awesome to see Rein actually using punches and kickings, as well as actually using his beast taming abilities. He actually made contact with a little bee, and that bee actually paralysed Arios while during their fight. After Arios got paralysed by the bee, Arios was pleading to Rein to actually spare his life, even though he does know that Rein has the might and strength to defeat him. I really was going to expect that Rein was going to punch Arios actually, let alone the fact he was about to kill him as well. But instead he actually restrained himself actually, and he actually restrained himself to actually not really punch Arios. Because if he did, he would use his own might and strength to actually punch Arios and actually well and truly will kill him actually. So yeah, I was really quite surprised that Rein actually restrained himself, but he had a satisfying smile on his face, knowing that he actually defeated Arios and not actually killed him actually, and saying, why is revenge always has a bad rap? I must say it was pretty good. And he actually had a very satisfying smile, that knowing that his pride and his dignity was being restored actually. So in my final conclusion thoughts of Team Rein versus the Hero Party in the 5th episode of Beast Tamer, I have to say that this episode was really awesome. Not only this was actually awesome, but it was epic, hilarious, and also badass. It was fantastic that seeing Team Rein up against the most scumbaggy Hero Party, and it was so awesome to see how justifiable it was actually for Team Rein up against the Hero Party, who really were scum actually to Rein apparently early in the series, and it was very quite justifiable in my opinion. So yeah, I have to say that this episode was fantastic to watch, and I will always enjoy rewatching it and also watching the entire series. Beast Tamer, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is so fantastic, and I love every single of the show, including the characters who are so memorable and lovable as well. So anyway, this is my thoughts of Team Rein versus the Hero Party in the 5th episode of Beast Tamer. I hope you enjoyed my discussion of this episode, and put your thoughts in the comments below. And anyway, put a like and subscribe to my channel for future content, and I will see you guys next time, and I have a happy Christmas. Bye guys.